Welcome to Bonehead Weekly, and this is our 2022 year in review episode. And these are always actually good for our ratings. I never understand why these are so popular.
No, people don't listen to us the rest of the year, but I think it's because people like to hear what people think about the year in review. I get that's my because nobody cares what we say about anything else.
Well, boys, did you have a good year?
It was a mixed bag. Go ahead, Chad.
No, I was gonna say in terms of movies or just in general.
In general, did you have a good year?
For the most part, yeah.
I don't think my year sucked too. Oh, there we go. Hold on, let me have another drink.
Compared to 2021 and 2020,
Infinitely better than those two.
yeah, way better than 2020.
I don't know about infinitely.
It's way.
I didn't have
better.
It's way better for you, James, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I didn't have to walk around wearing a mask. They don't have.
We still have asked you to do that, sir.
Yeah, no. The stress about
full face if you could find one.
There were some other stress items that happened in those years that impacted me, and that's so much other than a minor health issue this year, but other than that, it's been good.
Impacted colon is what he said.
Yeah.
I don't think my year sucked too bad. We had lost a couple of shows that I enjoyed doing, but that was okay. I made a decision, and that's how it goes. I'm still having the job. Kids are healthy. Family's healthy. Yeah, it could have been worse, guys. What do you all think?
Yeah, no, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's just, I mean, again, I think 2020 is probably the lowest point I've had recently. 2022.
2020 was rough for you.
Yeah. Well, and I mean,
and your family.
In 2021, 2021 was a lot of recovery, a lot of lawsuits and stuff like that. But we're getting better. We're all's good here. How are you?
I'm good. That's what I was kind of. I'm not trying to be positive, but I didn't remember a huge tragedy. You got out of a lawsuit. I made a little extra money this year. Chad's colon is not quite as impactful as it once was.
Yeah,
impacted. I think it's still equally impactful.
No, its writing has went to shit.
Have you heard it read Macbeth?
Yes.
Dude, yes. Riveting.
Sure, I mean Macbeth's fine, but until it does Titus Andronicus, I'm not interested.
It makes you weep, and it's not just from the fact that it's lost its Banaka.
Now, that being said, Chad was talking about what a fantastic year for movies it was for him.
Movies and TV, both.
Not for me so much.
A
lot of good stuff, but not a lot of things knocking my socks off. I had a hard time with this, boys.
Well, this is. I was thinking about this, and as I was doing this, I was thinking that this is 2022. As we've actually been talking about, personally, it was kind of, it's not the best maybe year ever, but it was a good year. And I think that's kind of how I felt about it when it came to pop culture stuff. Now, because of some issues, I still didn't see a ton of movies in theaters, but I read a lot of books.
And really quick, we're recording this December 22nd. I don't think, James, have you seen Pinocchio? We still haven't seen Del Toro's Pinocchio.
No, but I've heard
that it's amazing. I wanted to start it last night, couldn't do it. The long story. Knives Out, the Crystal Onion, or whatever it's called.
Glass Onion.
I like the Crystal Onion Skull a little bit better. Space Demons. Matt LeBlanc has got to go research them space demons. I think I got the plot down. I want to see that.
I don't want to correct him because I'd actually watch that movie. I would watch that movie today.
And he does it with a chip. It's basically a sequel to Dunstan Checks In, which I know is not the Matt LeBlanc one.
No, that's the shoot, the pitching chimp movie. Oh, if you hadn't said Dunstan Checks In, Ed, is it Ed?
Ed?
I was going to say Ed. So
it seems like it could have been Ed.
Keep freezing.
You're freezing too.
Oh, James is the only one freezing.
Am I freezing?
Yes, you're freezing worse than Joe is. And he's completely frozen.
I hope my computer's not dying. That would be bad. Am I really froze? I'm not frozen. I don't see you all as frozen. I was saying now that my connection's unstable, though. That's unfortunate.
Much like your mental state.
Which is weird because this is one of the only times that nobody else is on the server but me. But okay,
right. So, guys, let's start with some.
No. And I will say this to your point of the previous years. I've actually struggled with my list of making at least a top 5. There's like, what was it, 2020, 2021? I struggled to make a top 5. I actually, I told Joe before we recorded, I actually had a full list this year, and I actually had to take.
What's he doing? What are you doing?
1 second, let me grab a booster.
Well,
he's grabbing a booster seat. Those who don't know James personally, he's 3'4", 3 feet 4 inches, and it's hard for him to reach the microphone, even though it's attached to his head. Because not only is he short, he's special.
He's special, and he only has one ball, but it's as big as a baseball, so it makes up for 2. I don't know if people know that him and Hitler had that in common, but I mean, they just did. He only had one nut.
And if he hadn't fallen face first into that pile of nair, kind of the same facial hair.
Kind of the same facial hair. Yeah. Should we pause till he gets back?
Or we could just keep going and riffing on him. I'm fine with either one. Depends on how long you want this segment to go.
You want nothing to do with me until I start recording. You're like James, who's like, wanders into a pile of nair. Yeah. 2022 didn't suck. I don't see what else can we make fun of. James left. James has never come back.
No.
James doesn't love us. Nichols, shut up. What else?
How dare you tell that wonderful cat to shut up?
Oh my God. She wants nothing to do with my son. She avoids him like the plague.
That cat who once used to somewhat pay attention to me now doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm not heartbroken at all.
That's okay. All right, we're killing time. Let's go ahead and pause this for a second.
Okay.
We'll be back with James after these messages. James is back. And we have the combination to the air shield.
Sorry. I was just getting a booster. See if that would help my signal.
You definitely look taller.
Yeah, and you're definitely not 3.5 feet tall, like Chad said.
Oh, well, I mean, I appreciate that. God, if I was 3.5 feet tall with my body weight, I think I would be well into morbid obesity.
Oh, don't sell yourself short now.
Oh, no. I've been screened. I am at the cusp now. I've lost enough weight to where I literally, depending on what I've had for lunch, is whether or not I'm obese or if I'm just overweight.
Well, that's good. So
yeah, this actually became my dating app title. Am I obese? Am I overweight? It depends on lunch.
So let's talk about this year, shall we?
Sure.
And I'd like to go first once again, my actual most enjoyable, and this could be because it's just a few weeks ago. I hope not. I mean, it's hard to go back through all 12 months, but my most enjoyable experience was once again by myself in my basement watching a documentary like last year. Only this one, instead of Gilbert Gottfried, was The Automat on HBO Max.
I've been wanting to watch that.
It's
on my queue.
Would you say it was Mel Brooks? It had Carl Reiner in it before he died, and of course it.
Well, they did him after he died, but it didn't move.
It just stalled of trying to get him to talk. Anyway, The Automat, but it technically came out in 2021. It came out in 2021, and even though I never heard of it till a few months ago, Chad, did you? Till HBO Max started.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of it until I saw it on HBO. It was one of my recommendations on HBO Max, and I just haven't.
And I finally, because Mel Brooks narrates it and does a song for it. Well, he doesn't. He talks in it, and there's a lot of famous people. And The Automat, for you all who don't know, you've seen them in old time movies. Is where they go into those restaurants where there's glass doors and they pay, with a coin, with a nickel or a dime. And they get their piece of pie or their sandwich or whatever. What I didn't know about these places, I knew about the movies. I knew they were called The Automat, and you've seen them in a lot of stuff. But actually, they existed till roughly into the early 90s. And on top of that, apparently, they had the best coffee in the world. And they go into this about how good the food was, because how detailed these people who went into business. And basically, the Automats existed in 2 different cities, Philadelphia and New York City. And they technically started in Philadelphia. And these partners and the quality control, and Chad, you'll love this when you watch it. It's ridiculous that you get this much detail. The quality control of that food was so much better than fast food we have today. And a lot of it
Where
was
there's basically
seasonal.
none.
Right, right. But a lot of it was seasonal. So you only got these certain pies at certain times of year. And it starts talking to Carl Reiner going, I would wait till winter when they have this chocolate fudge, blah, 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 blah. And everyone would go in with a nickel. And they were also one of the first restaurants that wasn't segregated.
No.
So rich white people would sit right across from other people. African American people would sit across from other people, and there was no segregation in the automat, and no one thought anything of it. What killed the automat, which is kind of also fascinating.
Well, so I don't have to watch the documentary now.
Yeah, well, no, okay, you're right. I probably shouldn't give too much into it. But they were ornate, they were beautiful. You could go in and sit for a while, and that's one of the problems.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? They were
Yeah,
usually
yeah.
open
I mean,
24 hours.
there was that entire thing for a period of time where restaurants would do psychological studies about what will make you want to leave quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And there were these actual studies done. And that's one of the reasons that if you're a child of a certain time period, you may remember that McDonald's used to do this garish kind of red and yellow coloring. And it was because actually they did a study and they found that it's not so much that it'll make you not want to go there, but it's not a color combination that makes you want to stay.
And nobody goes to a fast food restaurant and really sits down and to stay a while. That's just not a thing, I don't think, unless.
No.
Well, okay. First,
except for old people at Hardee's, which, by the way,
I was going to say,
that.
I was going to say old people at
men
McDonald's.
at McDonald's. Yeah.
Yep. My grandfather, that was his morning every morning is he would go and hang out at a McDonald's with his other pals and drink coffee nonstop for 3 hours and then come back home.
Yeah.
Well, what else are you supposed to do?
I was going to say, and also the Waffle House. But they must not have followed that study about the colors because I still.
But I don't consider the Waffle House fast food.
You don't?
No, no, because they prepare it for you there. I mean, it's not like it's kind of under a heat lamp and then throw out. I mean,
and that's the best place to go to learn what sort of guns are in play on the streets too.
Yeah.
I actually haven't been to a Waffle House in years. I should take my.
I haven't either. I haven't been in almost
since someone pulled a gun.
Since somebody pulled a gun on me, 15 years. Yeah. Somebody pulled a gun, and for those listeners, it wasn't a customer; it was the damn waitress.
One bad experience with a waitress pulling a gun on you, and you labeled the entire chain.
Dude, there was several experiences. That was just the topper on the cake.
So back to what I was saying.
You don't go to
if
Waffle
you have
House,
HBO Max, check out the Automat for a bit of history about something that no longer exists. And I would love to have tried their coffee. Who's next?
James, you go, man. I'll go.
Yeah, I'm going to do something. And
that's about damn time.
We do pop culture here, but I'm going to do something that will probably be a movie by this time next year.
So we're talking about our favorite movie, and you're not going to talk about our favorite movie. You're going to talk about something else.
I thought we were doing best of 2022.
No, but we were talking about favorite movies. But go ahead.
I'm sorry. Let me do a movie. I didn't mean to upset Chad. Jeez.
I think you opened this.
I'll get to the books later, I guess.
I love you. It's just their structure, James.
Well, when are y'all doing books? Y'all never do books. You talk about movie and TV. So I was going to start with
movie, TV, and then you can do your bookie.
He also doesn't love you.
Okay, fine. You know what? I'll start with something that I enjoyed way more, and I feel like because we had this conversation there on that Australian folk show.
Yeah.
But probably one of the best surprises, and that I enjoyed way more than I even thought I would, as much of a nerd and geek and comic book fan I am, is Disney Plus's Werewolf by Night, which is not really a movie, but it's not a television show.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. It was going to be the next thing I talked about if one of you all didn't. It was fan-effing-tastic.
It has everything that I wanted it to have. It has enough quote-unquote mystery. If you don't know the character, you don't have to know the character. If you do know the character, they don't change anything too much on it that's going to upset you.
And I don't know shit about him, or can I say that the people watched it. I don't know shit about him or Man-Thing.
See, I knew Man-Thing. That's the only one, and that's
but I enjoyed the hell out of it.
That's why I liked it. So honestly, that's one of the things I liked about it is because that was the first time I've watched something Marvel related where I had absolutely no idea who any of the characters were, and I actually had to Google them, and I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I loved it.
I love the fact that we also get Kirk Thatcher of Muppets, um, Haunted Mansion, and Star Trek 4 fame. Mr. Thatcher, if you happen to watch this, I know you've done way more than that, but this is the way that always comes to mind as one of the hunters. And I love that, it's funny because we're getting another Blade movie, a new Blade, I guess, that will fit in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I'm excited that we're getting that. But it was also kind of nice to see this version of hunters where the hunters are not necessarily the heroes, right? Like Ted didn't do anything wrong. He's been captured and he's going to be hunted just for them to decide who's going to be the new leader. And they themselves then are the monsters. And I enjoyed that way more. And it's not that that's never been done before, but I didn't think I'd see it done that way in a 54-minute movie, including credits, openings, and everything. Marvel special presentation, quote unquote, on near Halloween, and I had a blast with it, and it was everything that I wanted it to be, that I didn't know I wanted it to be, but I had a lot of fun with it. So that literally is one of the things I walked away from 2022 saying, man, if they just did one of those a year, do
I
a
agree.
different old school Marvel horror character and do it every Halloween, or do another Werewolf by Night, I'm fine with that too. I would be there. It was just a lot of fun.
And it's so weird that it was directed by Mike, he's a composer. He's only done three directing jobs. One's one of the short treks from Star Trek, and he did something called Monster Challenge. And then he did this. And I'm like, where is this? Why is this guy only composing music? He should be doing something other than that.
By the way, there's somebody sitting there going, why is he wasting his talent on films when his music is so good?
He does have a pretty extensive, impressive composing career, but I mean, I'm just like, man, Werewolf by Night, it was so unique, especially for Disney.
Yeah, it was good. It was.
So that's I literally 2022, one of my top experiences checking that out.
I agree.
Right. Well, so yeah, if you watched our episode on Good Movie Monday where we talked about our favorite movie of the year, so this is not going to be any surprise to anybody, but if you didn't listen to our segment on Good Movie Monday, my favorite movie of the year is, and I am so happy it's getting Oscar buzz, is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
And it's just not streaming anywhere unless you have a damn premium. Like you have to have Showtime or something else. I wanted to watch it the last few weeks, and I just couldn't get it time to go to the Red Box and get it.
Yeah, I checked it. So I missed it at the theater. That's one of those. That's probably the most disappointed I've been in the theater. Is I wanted to see this movie and I had an opportunity, and then something popped up and I couldn't go. So I had to wait for the Red Box. And the day it came out at Redbox, I went out and checked it out, and I could not be more pleased. I mean, it is an amazing. It's a comedy, it's a drama. It has a lot of action in it, and I said this on the other one. Sam Raimi, James. I don't know where you stand on Sam Raimi. I know Sam Raimi is mine and Joe's favorite, it's Joe's favorite director. It's one of my top 3 favorite directors. I don't know where he stands in your
I mean, as far as and I don't mean this condescendingly, as far as living directors, he's probably in the top 3 or so. I mean, just simply because now there's a lot of directors that are dead that I admire. That Seven Seal guy does okay. Y'all ever see any of his movies? That Berg fella?
No, I mean, he's seriously one of my favorite directors of all time, but he did not, and I know it's Disney on top of him he just didn't do the job that they did for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And like I said, and behind all the wackiness, it is a story about a daughter who cannot connect with her mother, and a mother who is just completely oblivious to what she has. She, doesn't see the man she's married to. She doesn't see the daughter that she's raised. All she sees is sadness, which is, no way to live your life. And and then it's about her exploring those emotions and coming to reality of what she truly has. And it not only is it an amazing, visually stunning and a roller coaster of a ride, it does have a lot of emotion behind it. And that's what I look for in movies. I look for all of that. Though these one note movies, sometimes they just don't connect with me anymore. And with the exception of a few. So that's why I it had to be number one. And I hope we see something happen at the Oscars, because I think this movie deserves everything. I do. So yeah.
Well, we'll see who
Even though,
slaps who
like,
this year.
and I don't give a shit about the Oscars. So if they don't, they're idiots.
All right. Is it my
Joe,
turn again?
Your
Maybe
turn.
we need to start our own award. Like we can give out the Chaddikins Award or something.
I don't know.
Well,
'cause
We'll blow most of our budget on the polish for the dome on top.
have they
the
announced the
award.
Oscar nominations yet? They
No.
haven't, right? It's too early.
No,
Okay.
It's too early.
Yeah, Dan Kwan and Daniel, I can't pronounce his name, Scheinert. I hope they both get nominated.
Okay. So I don't know that I have a favorite movie this year, gentlemen. So I'm going to talk about things that I was just really pleasantly surprised. And this one I haven't heard a lot about, but I was pleasantly surprised. I read the short story. I don't remember it quite well, but it's just a slow moving movie. It's kind of like a long Twilight Zone, but Mr. Harrigan's Phone. Did either one of you watch it?
I loved it.
Haven't seen it.
It's just really well made. If you don't know what it is, it's
I will say
go
it
ahead.
was on my list. Yeah, just it was on my top 10, but I removed it for other ones.
Yeah, John Lee Hancock, who I think he also directed The Road. Am I wrong about that? Anyway, it stars that one kid from It and Donald Sutherland, and basically he gets a job reading for a rich recluse, a billionaire in a small town in Maine, of course, because it's based on a short story by Stephen King. And he reads for him every day, and he gets paid for it. And this Chad goes up.
He didn't direct The Road. He directed The Founder, Paradise Lost, The Alamo, The Blind Side.
Okay, so I got it wrong. Anyway, moving right along. He reads for him every day. He pays him a wage, and this happens over years and years and years. And his basically gives him for Christmas scratch offs every year, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then finally one year the scratch off wins, and he wins a little money, and Mr. Harrigan, not necessarily an evil man. We don't know a lot about him, but he's probably not. He's a billionaire, so he admits. He gives him a phone, right? He buys him a Christmas present of a phone. Mr. Harrigan gets kind of addicted to the phone. And then when he dies, and they have this long thing between them. Like I said, this is not a fast-paced movie. And when he dies, he puts the phone where, Chad?
In the coffin.
In the coffin with Mr. Harrigan. And you can see where the movie goes from there.
I'm just going to say, the one problem I had with this is, didn't you think they were, and I don't know if it was stolen, if that stole it from somewhere else, but it was almost a direct ripoff of the Twilight Zone episode.
It absolutely is. Okay. And Stephen King, I'm sure, would say that it's an inspiration, that Twilight Zone, I can't remember the name of it, with the old lady.
I am blanking.
Her young fiance, and where the cord fell off at the end of his grave. It absolutely is that. I think it's a little deeper. And a little bit, it has a lot of psychological themes going on, not only between the kid, but also what would you do if there were no repercussions and you could have somebody taken out?
Right.
And are you God? Should you have somebody killed? Should you be the judge, jury, and execution? Don't you think that's the reason why it made it to my list of, and by the way, is it the best movie ever made? Absolutely not. Is it the best movie I saw this year? I doubt it, but it had many layers. Back to what you were talking about. There's several different questions that go on, and it's like a long Twilight Zone. It is, and it's got the common decencies. It's not 6 hours long, and Donald Sutherland's amazing in it, as he always is, and he just gives a great performance. So I enjoyed Mr. Harrigan's Phone, and it's on Netflix, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. And if you get a chance, check it out. I enjoyed it. It's a quiet little, it is a horror film. I hate saying suspense or dark, blah, 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 blah. It is a horror film, but it's not anything you couldn't watch with most of your family if your children are a little older.
Right.
I mean, it's not blood and guts, but it's spooky as hell. So check it out.
James, you can do your book if you want, man. I was just playing with you.
No.
He can't do books. He can't read.
No. Now I'll go ahead and do my other one. I mentioned this on Good Movie Monday as well, but it is the only movie that I rushed out to buy. Well, that's a lie. I also bought the newest Bond film because I've got to keep my set complete. But the movie that I bought on Black Friday would be The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Yeah, it's Nick Cage, but there's also the idea that, and we've talked about this before, there's these movies that try to do something quote unquote meta, where people are playing a fictionalized version of themselves. William Shatner doing it in Free Enterprise. Jean-Claude Van Damme actually did it really well in JCVD. I don't get to give too many Jean-Claude compliments on this show because, well, I'm not as huge a fan, but JCVD is really well done.
So is Time Cop.
Anyway,
And Hard Target.
That's not overly meta.
Forever.
That's not overly meta. But Nicolas Cage playing Nick Cage.
James.
Nicolas Cage playing Nick Cage. Listen, which is the one that he did that came out at the same time as Rush Hour, except it was him and Rob Schneider.
Oh God,
that's the only good one where they're trying to stop the illegal genes from hitting the market.
Like Levi's.
Yeah.
No, gene. Oh, I thought it was maybe it's not Replicant.
So there's
No, it's not Replicant. It's I want to say it's a counterfeit fashion. I think it's blue jeans.
Holy shit! I was making a joke, James. That's the actual plot.
I think so. I may be misremembering.
This is Johnson's third grade class really outdid themselves.
Listen, counterfeit blue jeans were a big thing for, I guess, some people. Never for me. It was like,
anyway, talk about your story. I'm going to strangle a cat.
The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is Nicolas Cage playing Nick Cage. He's not getting the roles that he wants anymore. He doesn't feel fulfilled. He doesn't. And it's basically about him agreeing to go to this uber rich fan's house who turns out to be a drug dealer. The FBI tries to get him to do things, all of this stuff. And oddly enough, as you might expect, it ends up having a relatively happy ending for all concerned parties. But the reason that it works for me is that I do really enjoy when these shows do meta. William Shatner playing a fictionalized version of himself in Free Enterprise works because he basically is playing every negative stereotype of himself. Nicolas Cage playing Nick Cage and doing this indecisive, all of that stuff. If you liked any of his films, it was really good. And it got really great reviews from critics. It just didn't find an audience, which is a bummer. I mean, it did okay. But if you've never seen it, I'd say check it out because it's a comedy. It's got Tiffany Haddish. It's got Doogie Howser. Neil Patrick Harris. Sorry, Mr. Harris. It's just a lot of fun. Also, if you're a fan of, The Mandalorian, it's got, The Mandalorian. It's got Pedro Pascal. But it's just a fun movie, and it's a comedy that we don't see very often. That is very much self-aware, and it's got slapstick and it's got some of that stuff in it. But it's just a fun movie with some action, some explosions, and some people coming to terms with who they are, what they are, and what really would make them happy. So it's got a little bit of that emotion that Chad wants, but it also is. As some people would say, you can think about it if you want to. It's not a requirement. It's just a lot of fun.
All right. Sure.
Yeah, by the way, I want to talk about the fact that I just said I know I look for movies with a lot of layers because I look for that now, but I still love movies that don't. Nobody. One of my favorite movies from last year.
Yeah. Oh, Nobody is actually even my wife loved Nobody because she goes, that is better than it has any right to be. And we did go and see Violent Night, which is not in my top list, but it was a lot of fun.
No, but it's a lot of fun. There's 50 good minutes of that. We went and saw it Saturday, and actually, it's better than that. I'm not giving it enough credit. It's a lot of fun.
No, and that's my wife's exact review of that because one of the producers is the same as the producer on Nobody, some overlap, and she was like, "Yeah, whatever they're doing." She goes, "It's always better than it has any right to be," and I was like, "No, that was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun."
Yeah, Violent Night was a lot of fun. It was. It's maybe the most fun I had in the theater, but I don't know that it's a.
I hope to see it eventually.
You'll see it on February 14th when it's timely.
By the way,
Actually-
James, the Jean-Claude Van Damme Rob Schneider film Knockoff.
Knockoff. Is it about counterfeit clothes?
A
About-
fashion designer must join forces with a CIA agent to combat terrorism.
There's
and-
something about
As
counterfeit
they
clothes in it.
do.
And the writer of Knockoff, Steven D'Souza.
Mm.
I loved his orchestra.
Well, he wrote Die Hard. It's like in 48
No,
hours.
I remember, if I'm not mistaken, that came out near Rush Hour, and I can remember some people saying, I don't know which one I
1990
want to go see.
1998. No, anyway. All right. So my second pick for and this is the one that I was talking about on where I struggled with which one was my top one, and Everything Everywhere All at Once is just, it beats it out, but it's still an amazing film. Robert Eggers' The Northman.
Okay, so I watched The Northman. It didn't make my list. And I enjoyed it ish. It's a beautifully, wonderfully well made movie.
Oh my God, yes.
But I didn't. It just try to help me. What am I missing?
Well, for one thing, I love movies about Vikings. So Outlander, Pathfinder, I loved all those films.
Outlander. You gotta say Outlander. That Jesus guy fighting them aliens.
Yeah,
Alien Dragons.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with that.
No, I
concept.
agree with you on Outlander, but there ain't no damned alien dragons or Jesus in The Northman.
But no, I know, but I love the look of Norse mythology that Robert Eggers put into it, and then it's just a tale of revenge.
Yeah, it's a simple movie, by the way.
It is.
It's
It is a
really
simple movie, but it's visually amazing.
It is. It is.
Now
It's beautiful.
there's other parts of it that like I and this is why I was like, why is that there? Like, for example, the whole thing about the sword, he can only kill at night with it.
Mhm.
Him going to talk to the man who has the skull of William Dafoe.
Or why don't they just go over there and kill him? He says he's going to go kill him. Why don't they just kill him first?
Yeah, exactly. There's parts, and that's why I didn't make my number one. But man, I loved it. It's what, almost 3 hours long, and
It's a little over 2. It's not 3. It's
okay.
over 2.
I thought it was.
though.
I thought it was.
agree with
I thought it was like 2.5. But I mean, it was one of those movies that I was very surprised at how much I liked it, because I liked The Witch. I didn't really care for The Lighthouse.
Okay, I kind of like The Lighthouse better than I did in North. Now, the one's a superior movie. I get it, but The Lighthouse is so damned weird and different.
That's why I was like, it was so weird. And and this is where I fall into the category of maybe being a layman, a simpleton. I didn't understand what the plot was.
No, I don't think you should.
It was just two guys who were going crazy being with one, and I'm like, what is William Dafoe's problem?
Have you ever read Alone by, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing.
I read Alone all the
because
time,
it's French.
sir.
Shabut. It's a graphic novel about, oddly enough, there's
Shabut.
two different stories that go on. One of them, though, is about a deformed guy that has to tend a lighthouse, and they drop him off food. His parents were the tenders. They died, but they trained him because he was deformed, and they knew he wouldn't be accepted by society. And all they left him with was a dictionary. So he literally goes through anyway. I apropos of nothing, except when you talk about loneliness and lighthouses, I immediately think of Alone by Shabut.
Well, now I think of The Lighthouse, and I can't stop thinking about it. Jacking off and drinking motor oil.
That's not what happens in Alone. He reads the dictionary.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
and by the way, everything you just said made me even want to go back and rewatch The Lighthouse instead of The Northman. It's a really well-made movie, and I want to see that guy tackle. I want to see him do his version of Nosferatu as well. So
yeah, I would love to see that.
I
hopefully
do.
we get. I don't know if I want to see Willem Dafoe play Nosferatu again, or Count Orloff, I should say.
yeah, but
I'd like to see somebody else do it. I've seen it. But no, I mean, I really did. I love The Northman. I mean, it was visually stunning. I love the characters. I mean, it's a simple film about revenge, but
it's
all
an
that
$80 million simple film about revenge. Did you look at any of that? It cost a fortune.
Dude, you don't have to. You
He
can look
could
at
have
it.
made 7 of his other movies for what they spent on that damn thing.
I mean, it shows, but at the same time, I think it shows it effectively. I just loved it.
It does, but that is a niche audience.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my second pick. Joe, what's your next one?
Oh man, this is tough because once again, I saw so many kids movies this year because we have kids.
Yeah.
And then I do a review for Scarefest, so I saw a lot of horror films because I'm always trying to digest them so I can make this week's, 1 week after another week after another week. So mine's a little horror heavy just because that's what I saw. But did either one of you all watch Fresh?
No, I haven't yet.
Fresh has excellent acting. Not
So-
really a twist. Go ahead.
I'm not a big Sebastian Stan fan.
He's good in this.
Okay.
He just is. I think he's about as boring. He's more vanilla than Jay Leno in those damn Marvel movies.
Oh God, yeah.
And the
There's
show,
no.
even that damn Hawkeye and the Bee or whatever the hell that was. What show was it? I don't know.
Falcon
Captain
and the Winter
America
Soldier.
and the Bee. Yeah.
Well, no, it changed to Captain America and the Winter Soldier at the end, but it was Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yeah, no.
Well, Captain Falcon and the Winter Bee. Is vanilla as Jay Leno. However, I liked him in Fresh. Just
Okay.
like I haven't finished watching the Tommy.
I
Lee
liked him in
show.
I liked him in Hot Tub Time Machine.
I don't remember him in that, but I
He
like
was he was the he was the bully.
Oh man, I don't remember there being a bully. I remember the boobs in the hot tubs.
He's the one that beats up Rob Corddry.
I don't
How
remember
could you
any
not?
of that. I remember
Oh my
Chevy
God.
Chase.
Don't go watch The Lighthouse. Go watch Hot Tub Time Machine.
They both make about as much sense as the other one. I'd say
Yeah,
you're about right.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah,
Of course, there's more breasts in hot tub.
that is
anyway.
true.
Back to what I was saying. Fresh, guys. It's one of those where if I tell you, it ruins it. But at the same time, it's not a huge twist. It's just so well acted.
Yeah.
It's just so well acted. So this year, we talked about this on Good Movie Monday. I hate to be repeating ourselves, but there's just a really good year for horror films. It was probably the best year for horror films in a long time. None of them are going to win an Oscar,
Yeah.
but there was a shit ton of good ones that were different. Even the remakes were slightly different. Like Hellraiser was slightly different. And
Yeah.
that third act of Hellraiser, the first act's hard to get through, but by the time you get to the second act and third act, you're like, shit, I can't stop watching this now.
Right.
It just, I can't explain it, but it works. Works like gangbusters.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Off topic, James. Grand Isle is that how you can explain Grand Isle? Because I'm in the first act and I'm having a hard time.
Dude, I want you to see it. I need to know. I need people to see that movie, and I want you to play the game. When did the money run out?
Okay, because I'm 30 minutes in and I'm like, it started right away. Apparently.
Yeah,
They ran out. They ran out when they were making catering.
Yeah. So anyway, Joe, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Well, okay. So back to it. If you get a chance, this was recommended to me by a good friend at work, Laura Stone, Fresh, because I don't know that I'd watch it because I'm with you, Chad. I'm not a huge Sebastian Stan fan. And there was nothing about this movie that was really appealing to me. But she was like, "Oh my God, you got to watch it." And I watched it. I really liked it. So I recommend it to people. I think it's on Hulu. Definitely check it out if you got Hulu and you like horror films. Fresh. This year's Fresh. It's different take on several different things. So check it out. Who's
James?
next? It's better than the Texas Chainsaw on Netflix.
I am going to do my book now. But what I was trying to say earlier before Chad got all nervous, this will be a movie shortly. Actually, before the book came out, came out.
So I will let you do this, but when the movie comes out, you can't mention it.
I don't. You're not my supervisor. Anyway,
It says who? I want to see the contract.
I'd like to see the contract that says you are. Anyway, by the way, I'd also like a salary. Anyway,
I sign it with my penis.
That's not a legal document, sir.
It also didn't cover the line.
This will be a movie shortly, or soon, because Sony we're coming up on, we are past the anniversary of this. On December 16th of 2021, before the novel ever came out, Sony bought the rights to adapt it to a movie, which is pretty impressive because this isn't and I don't mean this disparagingly, because I'll probably tag the author and hope that perhaps he won't sue me. No. But before the book came out, they were already saying we want to do this as a film. And before I talk about, I'll tell you the plot to the book, because it is a horror novel. It is a crime novel. It is everything else, but it starts from something, as Joe said, we were parents, that it immediately made me go, yeah, what would I do? The opening of the book opens with the protagonist learning that his daughter has leukemia. And he's a working class stiff.
Yeah.
And he has to make a decision about what he'll do to keep his daughter alive. And because he's working class, he immediately, of course, only gets so much time off, but he wants to spend time with his daughter. He's in the hospital. He's doing all that stuff. They run out of time. They end up kicking him. Basically, he gets fired. And how far will he go? Yeah, Chad, go ahead.
I think the author of this book ripped off Denzel Washington's John Q.
No, he did not, because he doesn't go to the hospital, Chad.
Okay.
He decides that what he's going to do is use some of his old connections and get into the drug market. And he's going to start robbing cartels, and he's going to do stuff like that. But unfortunately, to do so, he realizes that he's got to rely on other people, and they're not trustworthy. And there's a torture scene in this where they, again, it's got a supernatural flavor to it. And they believe that this one child is blessed by God. And so I don't want to give the scene away, but it's one of the most brutal scenes I've ever read, which is saying something. I'll be honest, it's the book is really good. It is The Devil Takes You Home, because God may be your co-pilot, but it's the devil that will take you home. By Gabino Iglesias. It is just my favorite work by him. You froze a little bit. Did I freeze?
Yeah, you froze.
It says my internet is unstable. Am
It's
I
by
back
Gabriel
now?
Iglesias. It's Fluffy Will Take You Home.
No, Gabino Iglesias. And I may be, forgive the Eastern Kentucky accent, but it really is, like I said, it's got some brutal scenes in it. Coyote Songs is my favorite work by him, but that's a different type of book. This is a straight narrative that tells various stories that interweave. But it is, like I said, Sony has already optioned as a movie. The director has already been named. The director worked on From Dusk Till Dawn, the series, and did the thriller The Last Will and Testament of Charles Abernathy, as well as some of the segments on Nightmare Cinema, which we've talked about on this show before. So this will be a movie shortly. But if you're looking at, honestly, books for 2022, I read 50 books this year. So read more 2022 books than I read, or than I saw 2022 movies. But The Devil Takes You Home, again, may not be your cup of tea. If you want a book that's going to explain everything, where some creatures come from and all that stuff, maybe this isn't the book for you. But if you want something that's going to leave you asking questions and also thinking, would you be willing to do that if it meant a chance for somebody else that you really loved? This is probably the book that did that best for me in 2022. And like I said, I read a lot of stuff, and there was a lot of good fiction that came out this year. But this one stuck with me, and there's scenes that I go back to in my mind. Again, so will be a movie, but if you're looking for something, Devil Takes You Home.
Oh, my turn. Okay, sorry. I thought I didn't.
Chad.
So number 3.
Buy me something pretty.
This movie is pretty. That I'm gonna say for my number 3. I cannot express how much I love the movie Brian and Charles. Either of you heard of it?
Love Brian and Charles?
Brian and Charles.
I've never met them.
James, you ever heard of Brian and Charles?
No.
Okay.
I went to the wedding.
I assume it's the story. Let me guess before you tell me. I assume it's the story of Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys and Prince Charles.
Close. So Brian, it's Brian and Charles. It's a mockumentary. It's all about this man, Brian, who is a loner. He's kind of a hermit. He lives out in the middle of nowhere in England. He basically makes all these weird devices, inventions that don't necessarily work. And there's this crew filming him, and he's having a very lonely, he's just super lonely. And suddenly he gets an idea that he's going to build a robot. And so he builds a robot.
I do remember seeing the commercials for this.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
it looked interesting. I just didn't get into it. So
It's available to stream on Peacock now, which is how I got to see it, because I could not find it anywhere until it came out on Peacock. But yeah, he builds he makes a robot out of a washing machine, puts on 2 big arms, puts a mannequin head on top of that, and he creates this robot who becomes his best friend. And the robot evolves as the story progresses. He starts out as just, a simple-minded thing, and then he kind of turns into a teenager, and Brian tries to keep him on the farm with him. And all Charles wants to do is explore the world. He wants to see what is out there, because he's known is this farm, and it's dealing with the people in the town. There's a villain. It's a very, again, another one of those basic films, but there's a lot of heart to it. And the robot Charles is just fantastically hilarious. Like when he goes to sleep, there's a scene where he has one glowing blue eye, and Brian's like, "Can you shut that off?" He goes, "You didn't tell me. There's no way for me to shut it off." And he's like, "Okay, well." And then as he sleeps, this is what he does. He lays in bed and goes, I am sleeping all night. That's one joke. I'm not doing it justice. But Brian and Charles, man, it is a beautiful film, but just about a man who, is trying to find life, and he can't until he creates this robot. Beautiful film.
All right. Now, we did a few movies. Does anybody mind if I switch it up a little bit, since he already, pulled the Band-Aid off for
yeah, sure. I didn't know if we want to, if y'all are done with movies, I can do my top 10 and be done, and we can go to TV or whatever you want to do.
No, I think we should just pop around anyway.
Okay.
I want to talk about Del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities.
Okay.
Which is on Netflix. I love.
Is that your favorite TV show of the year?
Man, I don't know. I love The Boys season 3 too.
I did too.
That show gets better.
Let's not burn through all our bridges. So let's just.
Well, he asked me.
I know, but
I opened up with saying these are things I really liked. I'm having a hard time. There's nothing this year that I point at and go, this, other than the Automat, I just had the best time with that for an hour and a half by myself in the basement.
Yeah.
So I loved Del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. Now, they're not all winners, but in an anthology show, they all shouldn't and can't be winners. But when you have 70% of them just knocking out of the park from really good directors, the production value on these shows, I don't know how much Netflix spent on them. The one with F. Murray Abraham, who comes in to do an autopsy for a friend in the late 70s in a small town.
F. Murray Abraham.
He gives one of his best performances. And that's F. Murray Abraham. I just love several of them. The one that's directed by Padden Cosmatos, which is the guy that directed Mandy. It stars Peter Weller. That's really all I need to tell you. And it looks like Mandy, only it's 10 times weirder than Mandy. I don't know that it's all enjoyable as much as I just love the experience, because I loved Mandy. So anything that guy makes, I'll watch.
No, I was going to say, like I said, one of the best times I ever had in a movie theater was watching Mandy. It was me and nobody else in a dark theater, and they had those noise up too loud, so every pop, every click, everything in Mandy worked. And so I must admit I haven't got to that yet, Joe, but you just sold me, because I was like, yeah, if it has any of the flavor of Mandy, his
one does.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But they're all completely different. And two of the stories are, it has Crispin Glover in one of the ones there's 2 based on Lovecraft. 2 based on Lovecraft. And Pickman's model, he plays Pickman. And him trying to do a 1800 Boston accent, you guys got to watch it. It's terrible, but it's awesome.
Is it like Dick Van Dyke doing The
No,
British,
Dick Van
the
Dyke does
Cockney.
it better.
That's a low bar.
That's a low bar, but it's Crispin Glover, and it's an interesting performance. Does that make sense to you too? Like I realize that this sucks, his accent, but it's an interesting performance because he's Crispin Glover. He's a good actor.
Yeah.
He's an interesting person. He's an artist. So I
Well,
just
that would make a lot of people mad, especially Crispin Glover. Loved him in Back to the Future too.
yeah, he says that he won't do comic shows. He won't do comic cons because he gets sick of saying, I can't sign that. That's not me.
Yeah.
And people just don't know. And he just won't.
Well, and I mean, there
sign
was a
it.
lawsuit over that, right? I mean, it was
Oh,
settled
yeah,
out
and
of
he
court,
won.
but
He won.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they made up because Robert Zemeckis put him in Beowulf.
Yeah.
So they never made up with the other one, but he did make up with Robert Zemeckis. So I just enjoyed it. There's about 4 or 5 of them in it that just knocked it out of the park for me. They were just weird enough. Or there's a great one directed by, and I can't think of his name. He directed Sphere. He directed The First Cube. He directs one that's in the graveyard that's kind of old timey with some rats, based on a certain famous short story. You guys, you just check it out. And each one of them is hosted by Del Toro, just doing his best Del Toro-ness, and it's just a riff on what we loved about the Twilight Zone and Rod Serling coming out talking about it, and he'll always, and the director is, and then he puts down the thing, and then he introduces the director, and I just enjoyed it so much. I'm very sad that I can't talk about Pinocchio. I wanted to really be able to talk about it, and maybe I won't like it. There are Del Toro films that I have found lacking, but
I was about to say, Del Toro is one of those people that we talk about people on the show sometimes where we admire their work, but we've said, I don't know if we could hang out with him, right? Like Quentin Tarantino, we can admire Tarantino's work, but we probably wouldn't want to live 24/7 with it.
No, but I think I'd like to hang out with Del Toro.
Del Toro,
yes.
yeah.
Del Toro, yeah.
Del Toro, just because
I just listen. I would never argue. I would never just because he's an extremely well-read man.
Well, and I was about to say, and I think what I love about Del Toro is he's also a geek, and I admire my fellow geeks, right? Because who is it? Was it John Landis that did the Trailers from Hell review of the car? And he begins the review of saying, listen, Del Toro has a copy of the car.
Yeah.
And he basically is making fun of Del Toro for having it. Whereas I'm like, how cool is that? That's a sign you are a geek that had success and didn't lose your roots. You wanted the car, you got the car.
Yeah, he built a house. He has a house.
Yeah.
And you can go tour the house. Yeah, I'd love to. No, I really had a good time with it. Like I said, is it my favorite? Boy, that Boys season 3. Sorry. And I know somebody will talk about that, but there were several good streaming shows this year that I enjoyed.
I know I have a list.
There's several. So, but I wanted to start let's bounce around, gentlemen.
Okay.
James.
I'm going to talk about one that wasn't on my radar, and literally I didn't think I'd be talking about it at all. But I had nothing better to do. And I was like, well, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed parts of this. And then I watched an episode and I'm like, oh, well, this is better than it has any right to be. I'm talking about Cyberpunk Edgerunners, Netflix show. Cyberpunk, the game came out. A lot of people were upset. It was buggy. It was glitchy. That's all been fixed. I was a big fan of the game, but I was sitting grading papers and stuff, and I needed a break. And I was like, I don't need anything I'm going to get really into or anything. And I'm not my children like anime, and I'm like, eventually they're going to ask me if they can watch this, so I'll just put it on. And I got really into it. Now, is this going to be everybody's cup of tea? No. Is it something that, again, before I ever watched it, I was completely dismissive of it. I was like, oh, it's, the game was hyped, so they did an anime for it and all of that stuff. Nope. It is similar to Castlevania in that as a show in its own right, it is better than it has any right to be. Cyberpunk Edgerunners has enough animated neon that if Joel Schumacher was still among the living, he would have exploded. That being said,
that's a really good reference.
That being said, it's got a lot of great commentary that is way smarter than it has any right to be in a show that's based on a video game. And I'm not being dismissive of shows based on video games. I'm a gamer and a show guy who watches the show. But there's commentary on poverty and what poverty does. And there's commentary on what the pursuit of money does. And what does this mean? And what does it mean to be, as the show calls them, an edge runner? And doing all this. And yes, of course, it's set in this cybernetic, everybody's enhanced, or some people are not enhanced, and some people have illegal ones and all. It's set in that world. But at the same time, if you want to, you can play a lot of, oh, that seems vaguely familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, it's a show that nobody is talking about. And I would have been the first to also say, well, there's a reason for that, until I watched it. And it's well done for what it is. And it's flying under radar here and there. I'm not hearing a lot of people talking about it. To my knowledge,
I wasn't even aware of it.
it's never been in the top
No, I
3
wasn't either.
shows. I think it was in the top 10 briefly. Netflix does their here's what's trending. It was briefly trending, but I'm not seeing. But it's starting to make some lists. So if you haven't seen it and you have any interest, check it out. But again, it may not change your view of the world as we know it. But for a show that not a lot of people are talking about, based on a video game that some people complained about, based itself on the world created by William Gibson and Neuromancer, indirectly.
Right.
It's just an interesting show that has something to say that nobody has really started talking about. But I did see it starting to make some list of here's what you missed in 2022. So maybe more people will catch it, but give it a couple episodes. See what you think. I would recommend it, especially if you like anime at all, or if you're interested in shows that have something to say, but also may not be. People will feel differently about this, but to me, it doesn't beat you over the head with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people will say maybe it does. I don't know, but it's one I would say check out if you haven't seen it. So there you go. There's the TV recommendation for you for 2022.
All right.
But seriously, if you're afraid of animated neon, don't watch that show.
I never even heard of it.
Neither have
Cyberpunk Edge Runners, check it out.
I. So for mine, I'm going to go a little bit long on mine because I since we're going to TV, I'll just quickly list the rest of the movies, my top 10 movies, and then I'll talk about my number 1 TV show. The Banshees of Inisherin, Martin McDonagh. He's never made a bad film, and this continues that trend.
But
it's not my favorite Martin McDonagh film.
There's something in the third act that just does not pull together like all of his other movies.
Now, and I'll be honest, it's on my to watch list. I haven't got to watch it because I've been home with the kids. And we've been watching Christmas movies and stuff. But I did see an interview with him that he did on one of the late night shows. And he made the comment that he basically based that movie on the ending of one of his relationships. And he said all he basically did was take it from a romantic relationship to being a friendship.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, it's interesting. It's brilliantly acted and written and directed, and it's also extremely funny and heartbreaking, like every other thing he's ever done. It's heartbreaking and equally funny.
Yeah.
There's a scene with an animal that's not in any way grotesque, but it breaks your heart. And there's a scene with a young man that breaks your heart. But I don't think I'm giving anything away in my chat. And
I wouldn't go too far, especially for James, because I don't want to ruin it for him.
I don't think it's really ruining anything because it just. But there's nothing that's. It's just there's something in the third. It just doesn't pull together.
Yeah, there was something missing, and that's hard to say when every Martin McDonagh film has never had anything missing from it, and that's what I kind of left with this. But it still was great enough to make my top 10. I've watched quite a few movies. I've somehow managed to watch a lot of movies this year.
I just squeaked this one in Tuesday night, Monday night.
So Banshees of Inisherin, you got to talk about The Black Phone. It is the first
good movie. Actually, that's probably the best experience I had in the movie theater with The Black Phone.
And the reason it is a really damn good film. And honestly, it's the first movie in almost 20 years where I've actually got scared. Most horror films don't scare me anymore. It's like Joe talked about Smile and how great Smile was.
I thought it was really well made.
I didn't have that experience with it. I'm not gonna chastise him like he chastises me for my picks, but that's
Yes, you are.
okay.
You did it several times.
No, you suck.
Just climb
Oh my
up
God.
off
Well,
that
both of you
cross
just
whenever
say,
you have a chance.
why
It's
don't
gonna
y'all
get-
both complain
Actually, you know
about
what?
the third
Stay
act
on.
some
It's going to
more?
be 0 degrees. It'll keep you up there for a while.
but no, Black Phone, man. I agree. Joe talked about it, and I watched it. I had RSV this year. I have managed to not have COVID for 3 years, but I got a virus that mostly affects children. And I used that time to watch the Black Phone, and I sit down here and actually screamed at the top of my lungs at one particular scene. It scared me so badly. And nothing has happened. The Ring was the last time that happened.
Hold on real quick. The Black
Yeah.
Phone has something that the Banshees of Inisherin or whatever, however you say it, didn't. A fantastic third act, and
Oh my God, it really
it
did.
has a perfect ending, and it's and I call it the Tarantino catharsis of everything comes together, and you leave that theater going, you have had a catharsis moment, correct?
Yes.
You just do, because his arm is mint. They tell you in the first 2 minutes, and then it just plays out.
So
that may be the best movie I saw. The most fun I had at the theater. That and Violent Night. Go ahead, Chad.
Yeah. And just a quick run through. This Barry Levinson's The Survivor, which stars Ben Foster, who is one of mine and Joe's favorite actors.
He's a fantastic character actor.
Yeah. It's about a Jewish man named Harry Haft who is a so-so boxer, but he comes out as saying that he had to fight in concentration camps in order to survive. He had to fight other concentration camp members to the death in order just to stay alive. And it is a truly great story. The Survivor, I recommend that. The Outfit. Either of y'all heard of The Outfit?
I mean, I've wore several of them. I'm looking for something for a party.
So The Outfit stars Mark Rylance from BFG. The
Bang.
No, the Apocalypse movie. Don't Look Up.
I still haven't watched Don't Look Up.
Yeah. But it's about it all, and the best thing about this, it for the most part all takes place in one room. It's about a tailor who allows these gangsters to use his shop to transfer money, and suddenly there's an incident, and they are now stuck in there with him, and it's a cat and mouse game in this one room. It's beautiful, and Mark Rylance is amazing in it. It's not the best film, but it was enough to if a movie can take place in one or two rooms and manage to keep me involved, it's great. And I highly recommend The Outfit. You can see it on Amazon Prime. And then lastly, before I get into my TV pick, the Confess Fletch. I love John Hamm as Fletch.
So what is that on? Is it streaming on anything?
I saw it in the theater.
Oh, you actually went to the movies to see that?
Oh my God, yes.
I've got
like I knew.
Well, no, it's
I didn't know it was in
Fletch.
theaters. I'll be honest. I'm not gonna lie.
It
It's on
came and went
Showtime
quick.
now, right?
It came and went really quick. Yeah, there was we happened to have a free. Me and my wife happened to have a free few hours from the girls, and I looked at the movie showings, and they had one showing of Confess Fletch, and I begged my wife to go with me, and so she went, and she
skipped it.
No, she liked it. But yeah, and John Hamm, honestly, I like him better than Chevy Chase.
So I've got to watch it because you loved it, and then somebody else told me it was boring. So I got to watch it.
By the way, real quick,
I don't think it's going to be your cup of tea.
Before you do your move on to television, I did want to say one honorable mention for movies since you're closing out.
Yeah, and I got one more for.
I have to say, and I texted Joe about this earlier today. I enjoyed Troll.
It's dumb as a box of rocks.
Oh, but I mean, so is all the. I mean,
it's American
so are
movie.
all the modern Godzilla films. If you like modern Godzilla films, seriously, do yourself a favor and watch Troll. I had a blast.
The CGI in Troll is fantastic. It has a fantastic chase scene with his 1970 Chevrolet pickup. I agree with James. It's another one of those shouldn't work. And the dubbing didn't bother me. I
watched it with subtitle. I watched it in subtitle.
Did you watch it subtitle? I just watched it dubbed. I didn't even know there was an option.
Yeah, I watched it subtitle. But no, and there are parts of it that are in English, very brief, usually news clips. But no, it was just it's a film where again it's one of these plot devices of what are these ancient stories that we have, and what happens if they're not just stories.
Right. The
And
Christian
actually,
jokes are pretty funny, actually.
I was to say, and actually, one of the things it did that I was like, "Ah, that's actually kind of there's a little bit of commentary there, is early on when Papa
Mhm.
says, you know, this is all happening because they drove out the mythology, the religion of the native population of the native Norwegians way back in the past when they Christianized everybody.
Yeah.
And it's really an interesting way to look at it. And there's even a couple scenes in it where I was like, "Oh man, that's I mean, you can tell it's coming." Joe will know what I'm talking about. There's a scene where a helicopter crash is getting ready to
Mhm.
happen, and it gets stopped,
Yep.
and you're like, "Oh." I mean, if you were going for sheer shock and awe, and of course it plays out later on, you would have let that happen.
Yeah.
But it's corrected for a reason, and it's of course observed, and they're like, "Well, what does that mean?" And of course we know what it means. But if you've not seen Troll, Troll's a 2022 pick that honestly I watched it today, and I was like, "This, it's not Shakespeare, folks, but I
No,
had
it's
more
dumb as a
fun."
box of rocks. It
Yeah.
really is. I don't mean it in a bad way. I guess
No.
it is a bad way, but it is. If Roland Emmerich had shot, it would have been made by Roland Emmerich here in the States. It
Yeah.
just happened to be made there
And
by the
if you
guy
like
that directed
Godzilla,
the
matter of
Tomb Raider.
fact, I ended watching it going, "Listen, if they do another Godzilla and Kong movie, they need to add that troll in. Just
Yeah.
have him pop up. I'll watch it. I'll watch Godzilla versus Troll tomorrow."
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't bad. It
Sorry,
just
Chad, I didn't mean to hijack it.
No,
but
no, no. It's okay.
it-
No, I'm the one hijacking. I'm spending way too much time. But my top 10 list of movies, I have to end on a comedy. Weird, the Al Yankovic story. God, I love that movie.
I like the first 45 minutes of it.
Really, I
Well,
loved it all the way
then it
through.
just-
did you start to lose interest because you had to explain to your son that he
Okay,
wasn't
that
really?
it was a problem. I swear, because he didn't understand. I wasn't making that up. It was like, so no, buddy, it's lies. It's just lies.
Yeah, it's all lies.
I mean, is some of it true? Yeah, kind of. But
There was a point. I will say the one thing I had to look up. I'm like, did he really date Madonna?
No, he barely met her once.
Yeah,
I
and she
know.
wanted the parody done. She was the big driver. That's the only person that ever directly, or only person early in his career, I should say, that reached out to him to have the parody made.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
none of it's true.
Yeah, no. I for a minute there, I really thought, wait, is this one of those parts that's true? I'm like, nope, it's all lies.
A lot of the shit with his father at the beginning, a lot of the stuff, that whole scene at the pool, I love
Yeah.
with all
Oh
the
my
different
God, the
people
pool
playing
scene
all
was
those famous
great.
people.
Yeah.
It was hilarious that none of that happened. None of that took place.
No.
But it was just, I like that. I don't know. There was something towards the end that I was like, as a wrap.
They were having I will give you, they were having a hard time wrapping it up.
Let's just wrap this up.
That whole thing with is it Pablo Escobar?
Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, that was like, what is they do? Why did they could have done several different directions, and they had to put Pablo Escobar into this and make Madonna.
I
But at the same
agree.
time, it was so wacky. I enjoyed it.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah. So I will hold off on doing my top
Meta,
TV pick
Chad.
till the
Meta.
next round, unless y'all want me to go because I've been talking way too long.
Who's next?
Yeah. No, Joe goes because I go last. So just
That's what
Joe.
I said. You, being Joe.
Oh.
Who's me? Season 6 of Better Call Saul.
All right, I haven't got to finish it yet, but I was
Should
actually
take
going to say.
This is where I need to take the
No,
headphones
I'm not
off.
going to talk about
No,
it.
no, but I was going to say that is so. And I mentioned this on the show before. I did not watch Breaking Bad as it came out. I marathoned it all on Netflix, and then I went directly into Better Call Saul. And I mentioned before that as far as a character arc and having connection to emotionally and identifying, I identify better with Jimmy than I do
Slippin' Jimmy.
than I do like his story arc and what he's not great, but you also look at what he was surrounded by and you think, how did he turn out as good as he did?
So one of the best endings in television to me is Breaking Bad. And they brought it all together and they managed to land the plane. I just think it works. I don't have any
Oh
complaints.
no, it's a complete arc. I'm
Breaking
not
Bad just-
disparaging Breaking Bad.
No, I
It's
know,
good.
But the thing is if you're not a fan, it's hard to explain to people. Sure, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul are twins or siblings, but they're two different shows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're two different shows. And they're just the overarching arc is not even it. It's just the flavor of it. It's two different shows.
Mhm.
And Breaking Bad was slightly sillier than Better Call Saul. It would go to these random riff things. Is Better Call Saul better than Breaking Bad? No. Is it just as good? Yeah, probably is. I'm telling you, season 6 and season 5, they were fantastic. It's fantastic television. And some of the early episodes in that season, gentlemen, and wrapping up certain stories are so damn good that even though the last couple episodes are good, it was hard to top that shit that they did in episode 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
It is fantastic. You all need to watch it. It is superb writing and television. Yeah. I mean, I enjoy The Boys season 3. It's really damn good. But Breaking Bad season 6, I wish I could talk more about it. If you haven't watched it, you two go watch it so we could talk about it.
I
think the issue is
Netflix.
with some of the people talking about the ending is that there's just a story arc that wraps up before we get to this point, and you're just you just can't do better than what they did right there.
Yeah, as soon as it hits, as soon as the last season hits, I'll watch it. I'm waiting for it to end up on Netflix or wherever.
I paid for AMC so I could watch it as it came out. It just was that important to me. Also, this technically didn't come out this year, but I wanted to say it earlier. And I know it didn't come out this year. But shit.
I was actually thinking we could end the episode with what we discovered this year that we've enjoyed.
Okay, I'll hold off.
Oh my God,
James,
there's so much. Okay.
All right, so it's not surprising that I'm going to talk about this, but honestly, as I was saying about my 2022 and things that brought me, no matter when things were rough or when I was having issues, things that would bring me little sparks of joy, right? It didn't fix stuff, but it just made me go, oh, okay, the world doesn't suck. I have to talk about, I'm a big Star Trek fan. Star Trek Strange New Worlds is better than it has any right to be. And by the way, I'm a defender of
it's good.
In theory, most of New Trek. Star Trek Prodigy is growing on me more, even though it's a quote unquote kid show. It's doing some unique stuff that I've enjoyed. And I like Discovery, and I like Lower Decks. Lower Decks is phenomenal. Speaking of Lost Boys, or I'm speaking of The Boys and Jack Quaid. But Strange New Worlds and Strange New Worlds isn't number one on my list because it's original. I'll be honest, Strange New Worlds deserves attention because if you are a fan of classic science fiction, not classic science fiction television, but classic science fiction, you're going to pick the hits every time. Because why? And I'm not disparaging the writing room of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I admire the fact that these people know science fiction. One of the episodes I called about 10 minutes in. The plot to the episode, generally speaking, is that there's this child that's chosen, and Pike, of course, is going to be, of course, we're going to make sure he's delivered safely, yada, 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 so he can take over, basically ruling this planet. If you've ever read Ursula K. Le Guin's story, The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas, it's that plot. It's what if you find out that, yes, there is a world where everybody is taken care of. Everybody is fed. Everybody is clothed. Everybody has what they want. Everybody is happy. But once you find out this world, after you're there for a while, you have to realize that the only way that works is that there is one child that is more or less not sacrificed because he's very much alive, but he doesn't get to live in that world because that's what runs that world. That's Ursula K. Le Guin's story, the ones who walk away from Omelas. Now, that being said, that's not exactly what the show does, but it's awfully close. And as a fan of old school science fiction stories and things like that, Strange New Worlds just delivers. And I like the cast and I like what they've been doing. I mean, they're hitting all the classic riffs of Star Trek. Yes, they have Ethan Peck, Gregory's grandson, as, Spock, and that works, and they're doing that well, and they're managing to maintain continuity really well, all things considered. But at the same time, they're also doing classic science fiction, those classic science fiction adventure stories. And again, I've enjoyed Discovery. I enjoy Picard. I love Lower Decks. And like I said, Prodigy is really growing on me because they're doing some unique things, especially in the show aimed at kids. That being said, Strange New Worlds, when I need that little spark of, oh, okay, things are going to be all right, or at least I'm going to have some levity, I think it's well cast. I've enjoyed what they're doing. So I have to give Strange New Worlds a little bit of a
I
shout
love
out.
Anson Mount as Captain Pike.
Yeah, it is.
I do too.
I am so excited. I guess we can do a shout out to Lexington Comic Con, right?
Yeah.
Lexington Comic Con is going to have Anson Mount there, and I can't wait to start to talk to him about Hell on Wheels, and if time provides, Star Trek: Strange New Worlds.
Actually,
That's
I
a
was going
joke
to
for
talk
two
to him
parts.
about the Britney Spears starring movie. What is it?
Crossroads.
Crossroads. He's in Crossroads, right? He's the boy in Crossroads.
Oops, I did it again.
Let's talk about Crossroads. I need to
Oh,
put
no.
that on my list if we get to do a panel. That's my first question going. I know you guys have got questions. But
Maybe
tell me about it.
maybe I don't. Have you guys actually seen Crossroads?
No.
No,
Maybe-
dude, listen.
Maybe
I,
we should. All need to get together and watch Crossroads
Why?
because none of us have seen it. We might be surprised.
I mean, I made it through Spice
I've never
World.
seen Spice World. I was about to say I've never seen Spice World.
I've seen about 15 minutes of Spice World.
Oh, Spice World is saved by the performance
Jerry
of
Hollowell. That's it.
No, it's saved by Meatloaf.
All right, Chad.
All right, guys.
We're going about an hour and a half.
No. Let me do a twofer to get through this. My favorite show of the year. It's hard. I had so many favorite TV shows, and I'm actually surprised James hasn't mentioned one of them. But I'm not going to start with that one. I want to talk about The Legend of Vox Machina. Vox Machina.
No idea what you're talking about.
It is an Amazon original. I didn't get to do a lot of research on it because I am very confused as to what exactly this is. It is based off a running show called Critical Role, where it's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, I think. James, do you know about this?
Critical Role I know of. I'm not well versed in, but I do know of Critical Role.
So yeah, it's a version of Dungeons and Dragons, but the people who make up the group are not the best, and that's great about it because it takes place in a world where there are several different troops of people who work together to fight mystic demons, and they're at the bottom level, and they are trying to find a quest to pay off a bar tab. And what they end up doing is they end up getting into an adventure that is basically going to either destroy or save the entire kingdom of Exandria. It is a really great cartoon. The characters are not the best. They're not the smartest. They're not the brightest. They band together to do something heroic. It is a great one. And then my other two for my second one really quick. And I'm surprised James hasn't mentioned this one. And James, I'm sorry if I'm stealing it in my two for. God damn it! Did I not laugh harder than when I watched Shoresy?
Oh yeah, no. Oddly enough, I had forgot about Shoresy because I marathoned it.
Yeah, I marathoned it in 2.5 days. It was that good. If you don't know what Shoresy is the spinoff of Letterkenny. In Letterkenny, there was this hockey player who you never see his face. It's played by the same character played by the creator of the show and the lead character of Letterkenny. You just never see his face. And then he moves to another independent hockey team, and you actually see him for the first time. And shockingly, he looks just like the guy from Letterkenny.
But I love the thing that works about that is it's like with a lot of other spinoffs that work, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Frasier is spun off of Cheers, but if you want to nitpick, Frasier in Cheers is a very different character, right? He looks down on people that
Yeah.
drink
Yes.
beer in Frasier, whereas what did he do for season after season in Cheers? He would sit there and drink beer. And I think that's what works about Shorzy, because Shorzy as a character in Letterkenny is a character I love because all he ever does is shout abuse at other people, normally from a bathroom stall.
Right.
Yes.
And and it's always jokes about people's mothers, including I can't do it all because I want to keep my job.
Yeah.
But he does an entire rant where someone's mother does something that gets into his fish tank and it changes the pH balance and killed all his fish. And when he yells that from a bathroom stall, I couldn't stop laughing, right? I mean, it's just a terrible
Yeah.
your mom insult. But they have to change the character, right? Because
Yeah.
can't be 30 minutes, but they make it still like
And he still does it though, and he
Yeah.
does it. But yeah, it's about him trying to save this team who's going under, because it's this not even a minor league hockey team. I don't even know what this level of hockey is,
I don't
but
know.
but it's amazing. It's so good. It's just funny, and in some ways it's better than Letterkenny, but I can't give it. I just can't give it a full blown better than Letterkenny, because Letterkenny is.
Well, Letterkenny plays that
Sundays.
ultimate
What's Sunday good
trick.
for, James?
Throwing stone. I honestly, it's one of those things. I think the reason Letterkenny works and the reason Shorzy works to a lesser degree is even the characters that you don't like,
Yeah.
you care about on some level, right? Like the Skids are terrible people.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want your kids hanging out with them, but you're like, well, I don't want them to get hit by a bus or nothing. I mean, right? I mean, you at least have that, and maybe it works because we also know those people in some way, right? I mean, we all know some people that are like, they're terrible people. But yeah, anyway,
so yeah, that's my 2 for Jogo.
Well, I don't have a lot more from this year that I can think of. So can we start talking about the things that we found this year?
Well,
real quick,
James, do you want to?
I want to do a quick honorable mention, and
I'll do my
quick.
I'll do my quick honorable mentions.
Oh, hold on, I got one.
Okay.
Prey.
Prey.
Was really,
I thought you didn't care for Prey.
I liked it. I just don't think it's the second coming. A lot of people raved about that movie. I still prefer Predator 2 over Prey. Predator 2 is probably not a better movie. It's just it's Predator 2. I think we forget that and RoboCop 2 are batshit nuts, and they both need to be revisited.
Yeah.
They're action crazy nuts, and people all high on cocaine. And I don't mean the cocaine being had fakely in front of the camera. I think behind the camera.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. But I liked Prey. I liked Prey a lot. It's different. It was fun, and they did something that I thought was enjoyable. James.
My
I
quick honorable mention.
Go ahead, James.
My quick honorable mention, and we mentioned it briefly before on the show, but it circled back to me again. It was streaming, HBO Max doing A Christmas Story Christmas. Should not be worth my time. Still more fun watching with my family than I ever thought it would be.
My kid has now watched it 3 times.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
if it's not animated or has Spidey slinging something or some sort of he doesn't, or a Ghostbuster. But he's watched it 3 times. He watched it a 3rd time this past weekend.
I think honestly, I think it works in some ways because obviously I watched the original so much when I was a kid,
but my kid
now
didn't.
I've grown up like Ralphie.
But my kid didn't watch it. Why does it work?
I don't know. But that's what I mean. I think for me, parts of it is nostalgia, but parts of it's also the story. It has a story that is identifiable in some way, right? Yeah. It's. I mean, not to borrow from Dogma, but faith is harder. It's like a cup. It gets harder to fill up the older you get.
Yeah.
And there's something about that with the holidays. And while that's not the main theme of the film, it is something that the film plays around with a little bit.
Well, he's dealing with something that both of you all have had to deal with before, and luckily I haven't had.
Oh my God, that's what I was worried about. And I'm like, am I going to cry? Is it going to be Joe? Is it going to be a big fish cry for me?
No, it doesn't
Okay.
handle it that bad. It's
Okay.
just I got a little emotional about it, Chad. And the reason
Yeah.
you get emotional about it, and this isn't giving anything away, but Darren McGavin was really important. I mean, to me growing up, I
Right.
liked The Night Stalker. I loved A Christmas Story. I just thought he was cool.
Yeah.
If there was a
What
movie with him in it, I would sit and watch it. It's just like, for example, Dead Heat. Not a good movie, but I'll watch it over and over because it's got Vincent Price and Darren McGavin in it.
Oh, well, I was about to say, there's an episode, one of my favorite episodes, burned into my memory forever. Probably why one of the reasons I'm a big fan of Millennium. In Millennium, he plays Frank Black's father, and there's an entire episode where they flash back in time and then current, where you find out Frank Black when they were young, he didn't have a lot of money, but his mother loved these angels you got from sending in like proof of purchases.
I told somebody
And
something wrong the other day. I'm so sorry. I told somebody he was Mulder's dad, but he's not. He's Frank Black's dad.
and he does this entire thing anyway. It flashes forward, and it's set during the winter solstice, appropriate to around the time that this were. And there's a line that where they say that if you look at a certain direction or something on the winter solstice, you'll see the parade of souls that will join the dead the next year. And
Yeah.
at the end of the episode, of course, he sees his father among that crowd, and he learns that his father's going to die. And it's played by Darren McGavin. And so to that point, Joe, I agree. I think the thing about it is, and then I rewatched A Christmas Story afterwards, and you don't realize in some ways until you go back and watch it that quote unquote the old man did love Christmas. Like he could be really acerbic.
Old man loved Christmas and made everything happen.
Like it was you don't really like I've watched that movie 1,000 times, but going back and watching it, but says dogs shake fist Cecily. I mean all of that stuff. I went back and it made me watch the original, which I have seen stupid amounts of time with new eyes, which is an impressive thing for a direct to streaming service film to pull off. So I had to give an honorable mention to A Christmas Story, Chris.
Yep. Can I give one more honorable mention that I forgot? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, go,
Significant Other. Really, I actually liked it better than Prey. On Paramount Plus, I will go ahead and keep shoving people to watch Significant Other. There is a fantastic twist at the end of it, and I know somebody was going to watch it and tell me, "Oh my God, I saw it coming." I didn't see that shit coming. It took me completely by surprise.
I saw some of it coming. Now, here's what I will say though.
But ending, they stuck with that ending.
I was going to say, that's what I was going to say. I'll go to the brass tacks for them. That ending, when I'll not give anything away, when the things are coming down.
Yes.
When the things are coming down, and you're like, well, everybody's host. Best
she should have just went.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, you're living a lie, but guess what? You're living. You're living.
You're living a lie. You're living. And he just loved her. He just loved her. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, and he shouldn't have. He shouldn't have.
He's like, I don't know why. You people.
There's so many. The reason that film deserves more attention.
Oh, you're fine, dude.
The reason that film deserves more attention is, quite frankly, in this age of Me Too and all that stuff, which is, let me say, all movements that should have happened earlier. Right? Yes, women should not have to face. We're three white guys doing a podcast, and even we're like, yeah, no, Harvey Weinstein deserves everything he has coming. Actually, he probably deserves worse than what he has coming. That being said, it also asks questions of, I shouldn't have said that being said, of at what point do we have to figure out how to survive? Male, female, or otherwise. Because there's a very interesting thing. Joe's right in this film where you have an opportunity, but it's how much can you stomach?
How much can you stomach? Know? What are you going to put up with? What are you going to do? Because you are going to have to adapt or you're not going to survive. And there is a fantastic twist. I'm glad James saw it coming because I even said this before. It was like, I didn't see it coming. And I know some a-hole is going to be like, how did you not see that coming? I didn't. I was just into the movie. And then the twist, and I was like, what? And then honestly, after the twist, there was a bunch more stuff.
Well, I was going to say, and by the way, I just love the fact.
And it's only 4 or 5 people in the woods. That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
In my heart of hearts, too. Speaking of that,
but
in my heart of hearts, too.
It's not a horror film to me.
No, it's a science fiction film. I
Yeah,
think,
it's science fiction.
but it's very much that all I can think about when I watch it is that poor couple camping,
Oh,
like
they just
especially the
wanted to
guy,
help.
like especially the guy. Like honestly, I mean, don't get me wrong, the woman suffers too. But the guy is the one to go, hey buddy, let's just calm down, and then no, no, do not calm down, do not.
Yes.
And it's just yeah. Now there's that was one I almost wish would have got more of a theatrical release.
It's another one that I think is really good, like fresh, that people just don't talk about. Who's next?
I'll go. Just my TV mentions. Man, I genuinely loved Reacher.
Yeah, I did too.
Alan Ritchen's version of Jack Reacher was phenomenal. I love the mystery. I it was
It was a
I
good
did
show.
Tom Cruise. I am not a fan of Tom Cruise. I don't know if I ever will be. There's only a handful of films that I like that he's in. Jack Reacher's one of them. And I'm like, when they announced this, I'm like, how can Alan Ritchson, who has had some roles, but nothing significant, how can he do better than Tom Cruise in the role? Now, granted, Tom Cruise is nowhere near what that character is supposed to be, but he pulled it off.
Oh.
And then I saw this, and he blew Tom Cruise out of the water.
Yeah, well, because that's what he looks like. What Alan like Reacher's supposed
And
to.
he's just as smart. He's just as smarmy. And yeah, God, it was. I cannot tell you how much. If you haven't seen Reacher, and if you have Amazon Prime, check it out. It is amazing. It's a quick watch.
Mhm.
This one, I'm going to get on a quick rant about this. Peacemaker, way better than it had any right to be.
That was going to be one of my mentions too, and I had forgot to put it on the list. Chad, thank you for doing that, because I'll be honest. However, people are feeling about James Gunn taking
I'm
over.
getting ready to say that. Yeah.
However, you have a cast that John Cena, Robert Patrick, who played one of the best more or less silent villains of my childhood.
History. Yeah. In film
of my childhood. And terrifying. And you have what I can only say as the raw and unbridled cojones to start with that dance number.
Yeah.
And I love it. I had to show it to I won't let my kids watch the series. And if you've not seen the series, you'll find out why I won't let my kids watch it. But I had to be like, hey, y'all got to see this. Y'all got to see, because my son always used to run around because of watching TV and the John Cena. And I was like, oh, you want to see John Cena? Check this dance number out.
Yeah.
And literally my son's response, what is this? And I'm like, it's Peacemaker. I was like, this is the action show that you want to watch that I'm not going to let you watch.
But God, the ad libs, the comedy in that film, the crazy story, it worked more than it should have. And I want people to shut the F up about James Gunn and what he's doing. Yes, he needs to start over. I don't understand why there's people wanting Superman to continue and wanting everything Warner Brothers has done with DC has mostly been terrible, with the exception of Shazam and the Suicide Squad. Aquaman's okay, but everybody needs to get off his ass and let him build this up. If he fails, then get on him. Stop. Just let the man do what he's supposed to be doing.
And can I say too, like you said, the comedy and all that stuff, but actually one thing that I really appreciate about Peacemaker is honestly the commentary. The like, his father's a white supremacist.
Yeah.
He comes from that environment, but he wants to do better. He's just really a screwed up human being.
Yeah.
Because of what he was surrounded by. And so when he makes forward progress, you kind of feel for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's devastating what has happened to this character, and you're not, and it's a comic book film, and you're like, oh my God, why am I feeling like this about these characters? And that's what James Gunn can bring. If you people, and he's not, I know he's not, it's not impacting him at all. He's going to do what he's being paid to do. And
God bless him for that.
I think it got released today that Warner Brothers was begging Todd Phillips to take over. And I am so grateful that, dude, it came out. There's an article about it. And I am so grateful Todd Phillips said no, because Todd Phillips The Joker sucked. People.
It didn't.
I like the Joker. The problem is the
God, it's-
Joker.
I
No,
hated
hold on.
it.
I like
didn't
the
hate it
Joker.
at all. I just think no, it's a well-made movie. It just wasn't.
It's a
grounded
well-made
enough
movie.
for
It's just not the
70s.
Joker. It's not the Joker, Chad.
Yeah,
Guys,
I mean, I like
I
it.
hated
a
the
comedy
constant.
set in the 70s.
I hated
Yeah.
I saw the twist. I got so tired of the random dance scenes that made. I'm like, why does this keep happening?
You know what
He
I
just keeps
wish
going
would have
back to that
happened?
well.
What I wish would have happened in it, Chad?
Yeah.
Have you heard the alternate ending that Todd Phillips wanted to do? And they
No.
basically it's the only thing they told him no about.
What?
He wanted Joker to walk down the alley and see that the Waynes were killed and put a bullet in Bruce's head, and that was how he was going to end the movie. And just because he wanted to prove he could do it, and I'm like, oh no, I would have paid to see that. Because then
Yeah.
you're saying this isn't your dad's Joker. This is a man that literally just
Yeah,
wants
that's
to
an
kill.
interesting. I know. I thought
And-
the movies. it just.
But
wasn't
it's not that
grounded
it's
I don't.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm saying I hated it. I didn't hate it, but I don't understand why everybody's fanatic about it. I don't understand why they think it's it's changing superhero films. It didn't do anything.
no
I'm like,
Peacemaker.
no,
Peacemaker has
it's
changed
not a
more to
superhero
me.
yeah, and I'm like Todd Phillips. I can imagine him taking over. I want to see James Gunn because James
Okay.
Gunn is that level.
Okay. I hear you. It took me a couple episodes, and then I got into it, and I really enjoyed it. However,
Oh, by the way, Doom
Yeah.
Patrol. I left out Doom Patrol. Doom Patrol's the other thing that they've done
you
right.
have to admit, there's one too many plots about alien takeovers of brains and whatnot.
Dude, I know he keeps going, and you know what?
There's
when
it's just what's more
But,
into the breach.
you
Once
know what's
more back
funny
to that
though?
well.
Real quick, James, me and Joe talked about this, and we joked about it, like going, "Why does he keep doing this?" And then I was like, "There's a movie where he didn't do this." And I was like, "Oh, Super! He didn't do this in Super. It's just a basic, average guy." No, there's a total scene where there's tentacles taking off the top of his head and working on his brain to make him snap.
What? By the way, though, I want to point this out though because I was thinking about that, Joe, and what I was honestly thinking about is, wasn't that a huge plot line in a lot of 50s and 60s, where most of these characters come from?
I know, but I just don't want to see it
I
anymore.
I mean, it's
No, I agree.
goes all the way back to Slither. It actually goes all the way back to Scooby Doo.
I swear to God, if his
Scooby Doo has the same plot. There, remember?
Yeah,
They're
I
taking
swear.
over the brain.
I swear, if he makes a Superman film, and the villain's Brainiac, and Brainiac uses his tentacles to take over people's brains, I'm like, okay, I'm done. But I'm giving the man a chance. I want to see what he does, and I really want to see a good Green Lantern. Come on,
I was gonna say, and in all fairness, this is gonna sound bad. I'm sure I'm gonna make some people mad, but that's my life. What if we got to lose?
nothing. Warner Brothers has squandered their entire. They've squandered it. They've made 2 or 3 good films.
I was so pumped, and I don't care if the movie's gonna be good or not. I was
Marvel's
so pumped.
Phase 4 was better than anything DC has made, with exception of the ones I mentioned.
I was so pumped to see Michael Keaton back as Batman. You would have got me in the seat for Batwoman on that alone.
Yeah, you mean Batgirl?
And so, Batgirl, I'm sorry.
Charlotte.
All of this,
Batwoman.
though,
Batwoman was a TV show.
yeah, it was. Yeah,
I hope the microphone didn't pick that up.
I think that's it.
Hello. Are we
Nothing.
talking? Are we done?
Just
anyway.
real quick shout out about Netflix's The Sandman. I loved it.
I
I
still
liked
haven't
it.
started it because I was going to watch it with, but then I'm going to watch it alone. I've decided to stop watching.
I liked it and I loved it. It's like, but to me, it's 17 different series put into one series.
Well, yeah, it's the Dreamscapes.
I really was mainly interested in what's his face. I can't think of the great actor's name. Oh, he was in Naked. And he's in all the what's his? He was the one who was at the diner who has the power to make people do the. That was the most interesting part to me. Was that?
The guy from, oh my God,
I know
former
his
producer's
name.
favorite actor, Rufus Swell.
No, it's not.
Sewell?
No, Rufus Sewell's the other guy. But anyway, he's fantastic. That was my favorite
No,
part of the show.
he's in it though, isn't it? Rufus Swell? No.
No.
Oh my God, yeah. The
He's-
werewolf
he
in
was-
Harry Potter,
that was
Island of
my
Dr.
favorite.
Moreau.
Rupert Grant? No.
No, Rupert Grant is
David Thewles.
David Thewles.
Yeah, so I liked his story arc the most. That was the most interesting part to me. Now, can we talk about the things that we discovered this year that we loved that didn't come out this year?
Yeah.
Sure.
I was killed from the floor up, and it just shook me, and I loved it, and it's the best thing I've seen forever. But it was HBO's Chernobyl, and I didn't
Okay.
discover it till this year, and I loved it. It is haunting. It is beautiful. It is so well made. It's one of the scariest things I've seen. Not that you're sitting there shivering, but it's just, oh, this happened.
This
is
really
just-
happened. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just this all happened. This is all factual. Now, the character and that the lead characters talked about is an amalgamation of many different scientists who went through this because they had to narrow that down. But Chernobyl just was the best thing I'd seen in years. And I didn't discover it to this year, and that's a damn shame. But that's okay. At least I finally got to see it. And would not, still to this day, would not have watched it if I wasn't home, well, I wasn't alone in a hotel room in Huntington doing Huntington Comic Con, drunk by myself, looking through. They had HBO on demand. I was like, I'll give it a shot. I can't usually watch this shit at home. And just was up that night, and then was up the next night, and then was trying to finish it up here when I drove home. What about you all?
James.
Oddly enough, mine would be a musical act. And I've actually tweeted and shared them on Facebook several times. Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats is a band that I quote unquote, they've been around 10, 12 years. I'd never really listened to them. I happened to run across one of their songs when I'm working. I just let YouTube play and let it auto suggest, and I just keep it playing. And their song "I Need Never Grow Old" came on, and then it immediately played another song by them, and I just was like, "Oh, this is phenomenal music!" And I listen to music all the time when I work. I was cooking dinner earlier today. I put music on. My
I
family
didn't get
doesn't
anything to eat from him. Did you get anything to
do
eat
that.
from him?
Never.
Never.
He better be
my-
bringing his cheese dip next week.
And I
Yeah,
need
well,
to know about the turkey. James,
but
you want
my,
fried turkey?
I mean, if you make it, I'll eat some. I'm a fat guy. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, all right. Keep
But
going.
anyway, no. So that was I listen to music all the time, and so it's very rare though that I find a quote unquote new to me musician where I immediately start playing all their songs, and most of them really hit for me. He has a very different. The band has all different. It's kind of Americana. It's some rhythm and blues stuff, some almost gospel type sounds to it. It's also about heavy drinking and all of that stuff. And I have to admit. So if you've never heard of Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, I would say check that out.
I've had the meat sweats.
Well, that would be what my band would be. The Meat Sticks and the Meat Sweats. That was Jimmy Meat Stick and the Meat Sweats would be my band.
Chad, finish us up. What's the thing
Yeah.
you discovered this year that you love the most? And then I
It's
guess
not-
we should talk real quick about what we're looking forward to.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's my yeah.
It's not well, or should we talk about one thing that we hated this year? Because
Yes.
I have a good one. Okay. I don't want to talk about a thing. I want to talk about a person.
Is she in your basement?
No. Anders Thomas Jensen.
No idea.
He is a director from Denmark. He did an amazing film called Riders of Justice with Mads Mikkelsen. And it's about this man who's out in the Middle East, and his wife and daughter are suddenly in a train wreck, and the wife dies. And he comes home, and through a sheer coincidences, he teams up with these weird mathematicians who show him that he basically say that, you know, it wasn't an accident, she was murdered. And it's all about him teaming up with these three kooks to find the people who murdered his wife. And I am not doing justice by just that description. It is insane. Maude is playing straight face as he does Mads. It's Mads, right, guys? It's
Mhm.
Mads. Mads playing stone faced straight, and everybody around him's absolutely insane. And it's just watching as he's trying to keep it together for his daughter. and all he's thinking about is finding these people and killing them. And I'm making it out to be like an action film. It's not. It's a comedy drama. Highly recommend checking out that. And that led me to explore further down to films that I could actually get access by Anders Thomas Jensen. And that discovered Man versus Chicken. And it is a bizarre comedy with Mads Mikkelsen playing a goofy guy who has to, every time he talks to a woman, he has to masturbate. So and it's all about him and his brother finding out that their father is not their father, and them going to this island out of Denmark and finding that they have other brothers who were not all well put together. And you find out more crazy stuff. And again, just like Riders of Justice, it has an amazing twist that you don't see coming. And I mean, bizarre twist. Both of these are on Hulu. If you have Hulu here in the States, anyway, I highly recommend checking out any of Thomas Anders Jensen's work. So yeah. Okay.
All
So
right.
bad thing for this year. What do you got?
All right. Can I tell you that I don't know this is the worst damn thing I ever saw, but it's so depressing because he made so many great films, and some of them are some of our favorite films. But Pinocchio, Robert Zemeckis' Pinocchio,
I still haven't watched it.
it's dreadful. It's dreadful in the way that it's just so unnecessary and such just a, it's not a beat for beat remake of the animated film, but it just doesn't work on any level.
Mm-mm.
And it's just a depressing venture because I also finally got around to watching his Witches remake. Didn't care for it either. I don't know about you all, but
I never got to watch it, and now I'm not going to be able to.
Why?
It's one of the things that's Discovery HBO.
They removed it from HBO.
They removed it.
Oh my God, I am going to get rid of that subscription if they keep dropping all that shit because it's $15 a month, and I don't give a damn about their other Discovery shows. Anyway,
yeah, if they add Discovery and take away my movie catalog, I'm done with you people.
Yeah, I'm not doing it either way. It's just a disappointing effort. So quickly wrapping up, mine was Pinocchio. James.
Man, I'm having a hard time because I've developed this syndrome where if I don't enjoy something, I stop. And I'm trying to honestly think of things that I went, you know what, I'm done with it. And I'm really having a hard time thinking of anything because, quite frankly, I just don't think about it anymore. So yeah, I mean, there's things that I just stopped doing. I just stopped watching if it didn't live up to what I wanted it to be. And so I don't have one because I can't nail down anything where I'm like, nope, this is when I just decided I was done.
So you can't just say you watched it and said you turned it off. You can't tell us one of those.
I honestly, because I it may be the greatest gift that my father ever gave me is that evidently I do have the ability that outside of the film X versus Sever, if I hate something bad enough, I just forget it. I've had to start doing that because I get mad all the time if I don't. So I'm trying to think. I mean, there's stuff that I wanted to like.
I think I've only been,
live up.
Not to cut you off, I think I've only been mad after, and it's been superhero films. I've only been mad watching Justice League and the Superman Returns. Those are the only two I've been pissed.
I don't think it's a 2022 film, but I guess you could say Grand Isle may be the one because I started it and I was like, oh, this could be leading somewhere. And then I had to go back and read where it could have been headed before they ran out of money. Chad, finish it, seriously. You'll know exactly when you're like, wait a second, this is where they ran out of money. You'll know.
All right, Chad, what was the one you hated?
It's on the nose, but I cannot tell you how much I hated Morbius.
Oh, it's pretty bad.
Oh my God, it's awful.
At first I was sitting here with Christy watching it, defending it, going, this is stupid. But it's him as a vampire. But it just went and just got worse and worse every 5 or 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
There was good actors. They're both good actors. That movie's dreadful.
Yeah, the only thing that you could give that
it's worse than Pinocchio, but I still say Pinocchio because Robert Zemeckis is better than that.
Yeah, I agree. But no, Morbius is not. I mean, it's just dreadful, and it never got better. The only saving grace is Matt Smith playing that cartoony villain.
But he's not even good in it, Chad.
I'm
on.
not saying that's the only. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying that's
Let
the
me-
only saving grace.
Let me see which one. Let me see how bad it is on a Joe scale. Joe, you have to pick one to rewatch:
Mhm.
Morbius or League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh man,
League
League of
of-
Extraordinary Gentlemen, because
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
at least I'd like to see Sean Connery. I haven't seen it in a long time. I'm curious to see how if it's just as bad as it was when I saw it.
Yeah. If anything, Jason Fleming and Sean Connery. Yeah. But
Yeah,
and
no, I
Morbius,
agree.
Morbius has none of that. No,
and
it's
Morbius has some of the worst, just awful CGI.
Oh, God.
And none of it works.
and you know, I
The
couldn't.
movie's just bad.
I seriously could not help myself when I rented the Blu-ray, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go watch some of the making behind the scenes stuff, and them talking about the director and him having. I hate this shit. This is why I've stopped watching it. He had such a unique vision, and everything just came together. He knew what he wanted, and I'm like, they're saying all this stuff, and I'm like, if that's what he wanted, he should never be behind a camera again.
It just doesn't work. It really is a bad movie. And I know we've made bad movies ourselves,
And that after the credits nonsense is just dumb.
I don't even remember if I watched after the credits
The
nonsense.
Vulture, Michael Keaton's The Vulture shows up and he goes,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And you know,
That was
technically
actually the best
Morbius,
scene in the movie.
but Morbius is not a bad guy. And then here comes this villain. He goes, I have a thing that I'd like to hire you for. I'm intrigued. What does that mean? What? No, it made no sense. It's just literally Sony trying to throw shit together. And then the God is just
and remember,
awful.
if you guys think I'm being rough on it, even though Chad's the one that brought it up, I defended Venom. I was like, I thought Venom was fun. It was dumb as a box of rocks, like Troll, but
Now,
it was fun.
I am not getting as red
Troll's a
faced
better movie than Venom, though.
And I'm not getting as red faced as I did last year when I talked about Army of the Dead and how awful that was.
It was bad.
Dude, Army of the Dead still pees me off. By the way, that's the only thing that's not the only thing. I've already said I want to see what James Gunn does. But if nothing else, if James Gunn buries the Snyderverse and I never have to hear the term Snyderverse again. Yeah. By the way, if you're a fan of Snyderverse, more power to you. You got your film. Enjoy it. I'm not against that. You should enjoy things. I don't want to take that away from you. But please let time move on.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, if you enjoyed the Snyderverse that much, I will never criticize people about movies they like because I know I don't like the best movies.
Chad or I, or James or I.
Yeah. What?
Or some of the Australians.
Me?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
I judge you because you rip me apart on movies I like. I don't
rip James apart all the time too.
I do not. I love James.
James?
What?
No, but seriously, if you think the Snyderverse is worth saving, I will like to hear some of your movie opinions, but I'm probably not going to agree with anything you have to say about movies in general. But I will respect it. Just tell me what you think,
and I will respect it.
Yeah, I'm not going to respect it.
But
no. And by the way, another reason, and another movie that I just real quick, I don't know why everybody's Black Adam is again awful.
Is it? I was going to watch it, and then Chris.
It's not as bad as Morbius. Joe froze.
But you know, Chad, to be honest, with with Black Adam, and I haven't got to watch it yet.
You're back.
But with Black Adam, I haven't got to watch it yet. But in all honesty, I think The Rock isn't the problem there per se. I think The Rock could play Black Adam.
He can, but here's the problem, and this is what they turned Dwayne Johnson into Vin Diesel in Fast and the Furious. He just says one-liners. There's nothing there. And also too, they just tried to cram so much into that movie and nothing worked.
Can I show it to my 5-year-old or does he kill people?
He killed. If you're okay with him of sometimes dismemberment and people being burned to ash.
I don't remember.
I'm just saying if he can handle that,
I'm not the one you have to convince.
Yeah. I mean, it's not overly bad.
All right, gentlemen. Let's. What are we looking forward to? I wanted to see the Fabelmans and didn't get to see it.
Oh man, I don't even remember what's coming out this year.
There really isn't a ton of stuff that I know off the top of my. Oh, I do. There's one. I will. There's one thing I am extremely looking forward to. I found out that they had to go rent out a super kitchen, a 5,200 square feet super kitchen, or whatever, how many square feet, to make the 52 whatever thousand gallons of blood to make The Evil Dead Rise.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I do want to see that.
So,
Yeah.
That was on my list. So you beat me to it, Joe.
well, I mean, I do love me some Evil Dead. And
As
if
do I,
it's
yeah.
2/3, let's just be honest. If it's 2/3 as good as the Evil Dead, I don't know what to call it. It's a sequel. It's a damn sequel, the reboot.
Yeah.
If it's 2/3 a good, gentlemen, I'll be as happy as a pig in shit. I don't know about the other two. What do you about you all? If it's just 2/3 as
Oh
good,
Yeah,
yeah,
no.
no, I'm game.
If
the reboot's fucking
if I can
fantastic.
have at least one smile on my face, it's worth it.
Yeah. So they had to go get a kitchen to make this 5,000 gallons. Go look up the article. That's a lot of blood.
Oh yeah.
Let's see how it goes. And
James. Oh,
I
sorry.
can't believe they're putting it in the theater.
Yeah,
Because
You
it
know,
was going to go to HBO Max.
Yeah, but now does that mean anything anymore?
Well,
mean,
I
with
think
them
it
stripping
shows a
everything?
little bit. I think it
Oh.
shows confidence that it can't be terrible. Don't you gentlemen agree?
Oh
Otherwise,
no, no. I
they would have
mean,
wrote it off and ate it
yeah.
as a
I'm-
tax break.
I'm glad you kept talking because now I know what movie I'm looking forward to.
All right, next.
James, go.
I have several.
And I'm
actually.
curious. I'm
This is-
curious if he's going to say it.
This is
We-
some of the. This is actually one of the first times that I'm like, oh, I want to go to the theater a lot,
Yeah, me too.
especially since I've had kids. I mean, I've had to slow down a lot, but this is the first time I'm like, I really want to see that in theaters. Obviously, Indiana Jones. I've got to see it in theaters, folks. That's a childhood icon for me. But there's actually some other things I really want to see. I'm really looking forward to Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer, I want to see very, very badly. Evil Dead was on that list as well, as Joe has already mentioned it. And I'll be honest, I had no interest in seeing this movie in the theater until I went to see Violent Night, and it had the trailer for Cocaine Bear.
That dude, Cocaine Bear's on my list. I wanted to see it last year, and it was supposed to come out this year,
Yeah,
and now they pushed it back. I want to see Cocaine Bear.
Okay.
I had no interest in seeing it, and then I saw the trailer, and I was like, okay, like snakes on a plane for me. They officially made it just crazy enough to where I know it's
agree.
loosely based on a true story. I could
Yeah.
care less.
Oh, it's
though.
not even loosely based.
It's not even loosely. But the
not
problem
even close.
is actually the story behind the actual Cocaine Bear is pretty damn good. You could have made a movie out of the actual story.
Oh, the Bluegrass Conspiracy. Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah.
That's a pretty good movie. I actually would have liked to have seen that movie, but yes, if they want to go batshit with the bear doing cocaine, I'm all for it.
But other things I'm looking forward to, again, it's going to be stuff that hits me in my childhood. The next Creed movie I'll go see. Not from my childhood, but because I've enjoyed the other three. John Wick, of course, I'll have to go see
Stole
that.
another one.
I forgot about John Wick.
John Wick 4. That's my second one.
And by the way, if y'all don't think I'm going to go see Renfield, which comes out a week before
James, quit
Evil
stealing
Dead.
mine.
Renfield, I got to see Renfield.
Well,
How could you not want to see Renfield? I mean, it's Nicolas Cage with Aquafina.
Yes, I know. I'm dying to see it. It also has Nicholas Hoult as Renfield.
And I'll be honest, the trailer got to me a little bit for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The fact
I
it's
hope,
that last.
I hope they wraps it up well.
And I'll be honest,
there's some conspiracy where someone's brain is taking over. Otherwise, I'm going to call bullshit.
Oh, by the way, that's the other thing.
James Gunn universe.
By the way, Guardians of the Galaxy never had a tentacle monster.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3, though, I got more excited for because I guess it should have been an honorable mention for 2022. That Christmas holiday special had no reason to work at all. But I'll be honest, the fact that Rocket got Bucky's arm, I laughed for about a minute and a half, and then I had to explain to Dana why that was so funny. But yeah, a Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're gonna leave,
sorry,
James anything? You're gonna
he's
leave
literally
don't worry,
Hold on,
because Chad will never attack you. He loves you, and your
I know what he's doing. He's literally going down the list and naming every single movie.
No,
right,
I'm not.
Why don't you let Chad talk?
There's some that I don't look forward to. Like Chad, I know it's going to break your heart, but I really am not excited about the Flash
or Barbie.
I'm not either.
I'm not excited about the next Mission Impossible. Sorry.
Or Barbie.
So now you're going to do this?
No.
Or Barbie.
By the way, somebody lists December 20th as Ghostbusters Afterlife 2.
I don't
It's
think it'll
it's
make
technically
it.
showing as possibly being released then. I'm not going to say
I
that's
just
my
don't
pick
see
because
it. I don't see it happening by next
There's
December.
no, yeah, if they can't rush it.
but that's really it. I mean, there's that's those are the ones. I mean, but for me at this point in the year to be able to say I've got 6 or 7 films that I'm like I really want to see those in theater. I'm usually a little bit slower than that. I've got to see more trailers and stuff. But those are ones where as soon as I heard about them, I'm like, and like I said the trailers for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I was like, oh, that it's gonna. I mean, yeah.
So,
Ja-
well, so since James stole all of mine,
well, don't
I'm sorry.
worry.
Either we have
No.
similar taste, or you have a brain slug that I put there, and I'm controlling you.
no, the only ones he didn't mention that I actually really I'm also looking forward to seeing is the Dungeons and Dragons film.
I kind of am too.
I
even though
really
I
want to
know
see
it's
that.
gonna-
I haven't seen anything about it.
You haven't seen the
trailer's
trailer?
Okay.
I haven't
know
seen the
it's gonna
trailer,
suck.
and I think it's because I've been burned by every other one.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
true.
since the cartoon,
They're all
since the
terrible.
cartoon, and I'll argue Stranger Things, there hasn't been a good adaptation. Stranger Things is the best adaptation of that property in
I think
modern times.
it's listed as coming out this year, but something tells me it's not. I really want to see the Seth Rogen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutation Mayhem computer animated film. I just got to see it, and then also I kind of want to see the Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Is that coming out? Who's in it?
It says it's coming out on
been-
August
that-
11th.
Alex Proyas was even supposed to. Remember, he talked about it. I mean, everybody and their mother has at one point or another been attached to that movie.
And I'd be honest with you, I'm not overly optimistic about it. I don't know anybody who has anybody in the film. So yeah. I just don't know.
Are you excited for Wonka, Chad?
No.
I know I'm going to end up seeing it because it's a musical and I have children.
And
right?
I have children who love musicals, and also my youngest is obsessed with Willy Wonka, so I will end up seeing it in the theater.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah,
there yet. You guys
but-
tell me about it.
Now, I will just make you watch. Oh, but you'll have something to look forward to. There's a new Paw Patrol movie, Joe.
I'll be there.
Paw Patrol, the Mighty movie.
Mhm. I'll be there. Can't get
Now,
away.
are you going to take him to the stage show that's coming around?
No, he didn't know that exists.
I'll bring it up when I see him next.
No, he didn't know. And
Oh.
I would say I'd seek Chad on you, but he loves you and is incredibly
I do.
supportive of you.
Yeah.
I go to bed.
Never do any wrong.
I
The
go to
joy
bed.
of
I go
my
to bed
kid-
looking at his picture every night. That's
He
how I
never
sleep
gets
at night.
upset when you say I'll be there in a minute.
Never.
Oh, wait, the computer needs a reboot. Chad has never melted down over.
Also-
the joy, by the way,
also
of me having
Also, when he says I'm on my way, I'm getting a bite to eat. That never bothers me.
never bothers me.
the joy of my kids being the oldest is I get to screw with y'all's kids more, and I appreciate that.
By the way, the
I really
movie
do.
I am not looking forward to at all, Craven the Hunter. I won't go see it.
I'm more likely to see Craven the Hunter than I think I might be to see.
I don't even know what that is. Have you guys heard of Barbie?
It's a Spider-Man movie, Joe.
I'll be honest with you, it's so bizarre that I'm kind of interested in seeing what they, and my daughters want to see it, so I'll be going to see it in the theater anyway.
By the way, the Barbie movie though, like somebody
And
was,
it's Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach. I mean, it's got to be something to it.
well, as I say, and the people are already going nuts because like the first time you see her, she's in the bathing suit that
Yeah,
the
the
original Barbie
original.
came in and all that in, and I'm like, you know what? It's not for me, right? And that's again, I go back to this. I learned long ago, if it's not for you, it's fine. It's not for you, right? X versus Ever wasn't for me. I still want to hurt the people that
Way to
made it,
go.
but no, it's the one thing I can't. Like I said, I've learned to block a lot of stuff out. That
Gentlemen,
movie
we
hurt
are
me.
almost at 2 hours.
Good. We can. Make
This
this
is
into
one of
2
our
episodes.
best. This is one of our best.
We
viewed
can make it
episodes,
2
though.
episodes and be further in.
Further,
Nah, I
in?
say we do it as one.
Yeah, I mean, we have more pad, is what I meant to say.
I say we do it as one, just to because you don't want to end the year twice. We barely can end it once.
That's true. All right, guys. Anything left before you go?
No, I'm ready to start wrapping up.
Now I was gonna say I can't because I
Holy
wanted to.
cow, and he never gets upset when you just absolutely.
No, I was gonna say the.
No, never.
I mean, we did
Because
movies,
Now I
TV
can't hear him.
shows. TV shows coming back would be what, boys?
Night Court.
Night Court. I guess Night Court I'll look forward to. The Boys,
did-
but Better Call Saul's over. A lot of what stuff we talked about is wrapped up now. So
Yeah.
I wanted to acknowledge that we did a lot of movies we're looking forward to. We talked about our favorite TV shows, but I don't know what all I'm going to look for. I mean, Strange New Worlds will come back.
Shorzy, Shorzy
Yeah.
2, Reacher season 2. I'm hoping we're getting a Reacher season 2. Vox Machina, even though I know I'm just talking about, but the next season starts in a couple of weeks, and I am so excited.
Yeah. So I mean, but that's it. I don't know the new TV shows that will be new that won't just be new seasons. So I wanted to acknowledge it's not that we're ignoring television and books. I don't know what books are coming out, so I don't know what I like yet. So
All
I
right.
will pick stuff up.
This has been Bonehead Weekly. Thank you.
It sure
Matt.
has.
It's
Nanu, bitches.
a